Good morning. I thought that was a really, really interesting juxtaposition. I really like the fact that they're very, very different in the way they look at things, and also in the way they solve that. So, and
I
then
have to say, there's nothing better than watching two icons have a little bromance.
and special thanks to George for this video.
George Saraglou's Soulville Twitter. I'm going to give away a secret, everybody. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to show you my ace out of my sleeve. There it is. Are you ready for this? My special gentleman out of the way, way west, in the wild, wild west. My man Ian, my man Jeff, the Auto Hub Show people. These gentlemen are all about the customer experience. They're all about mentors. They're one of my mentors, people. Gentlemen, Ian, Jeff, you're truly one of my mentors. You're mentors to me and hundreds of people across the car business, from the East Coast, the West Coast, the North Pole, the South Pole. I've been on your show all the way from Greece. Gentlemen, you're looking for the best of the best in the car business. You're looking for the best show in the business. The Auto Hub Show. A man Ian, a man Jeff. One man, one place. George Saraglu.
And a few books. I mean, there's so many books on gratitude. I just picked a few. Choosing Gratitude, Gratitude Works, and Option B. There's also a great meme that I see. If you tried A, there's still all these letters of the plan A. There's all these letters of the alphabet left. So go ahead, Jeff. Oh, disclaimer.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our year-end show. Thank you so much for attending. Scott, Joanne, thank you so much for being here. You were part of our original slate of guests. And as I said, this time of year, people are either scrambling to escape lockdowns or just go and escape and sit on the beach, which I'm very jealous about. But today's format is a little different than normally. We normally have a flow and questions and everything, but considering the topic of today's show is about gratitude, we're going to share that. Everybody attending is welcome to share their opinions on gratitude and what it means to them. And I think the fact that we made it through this year is we should be grateful. It's pretty something. Before we get started, we always like to share our disclaimer and just let everybody know that the views and opinions of everybody online here today that are sharing this are their opinions and do not necessarily reflect our opinions of the official policy of the Auto Hub Show. In other words, this gets us off the hook, and please feel free to go to our website and just read our disclaimer. So again, thank you everybody for attending. And we're just talking about how to be grateful today with your co-hosts, me, Jeff Polo, and Ian Nethercott.
All right. So thanks very much, Jeff. Really appreciate it. I'm going to stop the share. So since we did have two official guests, I think we should start with Joanne. Maybe, Joanne, you can share a little bit about what's made you grateful this year, and maybe you have some thoughts.
Well, many people call me the Gratitude Queen. One time they even gave me a plaque. So I feel like I'm grateful every day, no matter what year it is, what day it is, because I do wake up, kind of like Tony said, and I just immediately set my mindset to be grateful. And I always tell God, I just can't wait to see what we're going to do together today.
Fantastic. And do you have any advice for people who maybe are challenged on certain days?
Yes, because it does take time to cultivate this habit. Because normally we wake up feeling like, oh, it's cold, oh, it's, I don't have enough, I don't know, of whatever money, enough food or whatever. So I feel like you have to purposely reset your mindset, and not even just for the morning, like I'm saying, but even throughout the day when you see things, just be grateful for them. And it's amazing how you'll see more things that you can be grateful for, because again, it's what you focus on.
Okay. Good tips. Scott, any thoughts on grateful?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing Joanne mentioned there, I think that resonated with me is it's a habit that takes cultivation. I'll use an analogy about brushing our teeth. I mean, we can go to the dentist, once a year to get our
Right.
teeth cleaned. But if we don't brush our teeth every day, what's the sense in going to the dentist once a year to get your teeth cleaned? It's the consistency, it's the habit, the daily routine of brushing our teeth that's going to allow us to see the results. So, and then I'm a pretty grateful guy, but I also need to be reminded every once in a while to take the time to reflect, to be grateful for what I've been given, and even just for the day that we're given each day. I try to say thank you before I go to bed every night too, and it's something that I don't do it every night, but I try to make it a habit as best I can, and I find that when I do, life just gets a little easier.
Fantastic. Pamela, any thoughts on being grateful?
Sorry, Ian?
I was just going to ask Pamela, but she's trying to figure out how to mute it. It's all good.
I was trying to unmute myself, which is unusual because usually everyone's trying to mute me. I'm actually grateful for, this is going to sound crazy, but COVID, because my whole career have been on the road and never really spent very much time at home. And this year I got to spend time with my husband, which I never got to do. And I actually really like him. He's really funny. And just, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Fantastic. Mr. John Lacka, not in any order. I'm just going through the screen here.
You're going through the screen and you surprised me.
Well, that's what we do when we see when we see somebody that the video isn't on and they're muted, we pick on them.
Perfect. Well, I can tell you in terms of being grateful, number one, I'm grateful for my wife and my son, for family, and grateful for all the customers that we've had over the years and continue to have. Above and beyond that, of course, I'm grateful for the Auto Hub show and all the wonderful folks that appear on it and all the things that we can learn from one another. And I would say that the other thing that I'm grateful for is that my parents decided to immigrate to Canada many years ago and bring my brother and I out to this wonderful land of opportunity.
Fantastic. And I'm going to skip around here a little bit. Let's go, Stephen Granger.
Hey, this is actually a great topic. I have been struggling in the past couple of weeks as the founder of a startup with a lot of negativity and trying to personally change my mindset to focus more on the positive. And I have a couple mentors, and I had one who's had to kind of shake me about, you've only been in your business for 8 months and you have positive cash flow. You've got happy customers. Comparatively to most startups, you're in a good spot. So I'm thankful for my kids. I've got 2 great kids, the business that I've started this year, and the customers that I have, and the ability that I have to do that. I also kind of second the COVID. It forced me. I've been kind of farting around with my business on the side for a couple of years, and it forced me to pull the trigger, and it's been awesome. So I'm grateful for that.
Fantastic. And the car lady.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Pamela. Hi Scott. I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm grateful to be a Canadian, just to piggyback on what John said. I just went and had another COVID test this morning, not because I have any symptoms, but because my mom is in long-term care, and a negative test result allows me to visit with her. So I'm super grateful for that I'm negative, that my family is healthy and well, and that we live in a country where our health system is so superior. I know it has its issues, but I have to say that I'm grateful to be Canadian. I'm also very grateful, and to echo what Pamela said, to COVID, because it gave me an idea of who I was outside of the car lady. The car lady is my brand, and not just who I am. And I think for the 23 years, going on 24 years next month, that I've been the car lady, I've worked in a way that it became part of my identity more so than it needed to be. And instead of working on the business, I just sort of was one track mind, very focused on that. So I'm grateful for an industry that gave me a great career for a really long time. I'm grateful to be back. But COVID actually freed me to be just Christine Mitchell for a while. And it's really been a great experience. Every day I have found joy. I'm very fortunate that I have such a supportive family and husband. And I'm grateful for everything that I have today, that the car lady has given me. But I want to continue my life doing the work that I do, but also just being myself for a while, which has been great.
I do have to interject here, by the way, to our very welcome American guests. This does not mean us Canadians are trying to dump on you, and I'm sure we know there's lots of stuff to be thankful for being Americans, but Canada rocks.
No, I'm not saying that I'm not saying anything about anybody else. Just for me, I'm grateful to be Canadian. I'm grateful for an industry that's given me a wonderful career and the supportiveness of my clients. I'm in an event-based business. I don't know if you guys know what we do, but we host after-sales seminars at car dealerships after the purchase. So we teach the customer about the car they bought and how to take care of it. Well, March 13th meant that was no longer possible to get a group of people together. And the industry and my connections and colleagues in the industry reached out to me and said, "Are you all right? What can we do to help?" And I'm rebuilding, but I'm rebuilding on my terms with a grateful heart and a truly joyful life.
Fantastic. Sandy?
Hi, everybody. Some of you I've met, some of you I haven't. I'm grateful for so many things. Gratitude. This is such a great topic. Sitting here listening to everybody, and then I grabbed my book. Like, I have this I Choose Joy book that has a place where you write your gratitude list. Gratitude, having an attitude of gratitude, is something that has been really important in my personal life that has come over to my professional life. I really related to what Stephen was talking about. For the first 3 years of my consulting business, I had to really look for the gratitude. Like, I had to really look for it. And just know that, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and this year, and then things just happen. But when I look at my list, right, like I do have this practice that I make a gratitude list, and I'm thankful most of the time. I'm thankful that I know all of you Canadians, so I know where I can go someday.
When the borders open.
I'm grateful. Well, I'm not going to get political, but I'm grateful. I'm looking forward to January 20th. Let's put it that way. And but having this practice, and when I look at my list, there are never things on my list. It's people. I end up being grateful for connections, and the connections that I've been able to make this year have been Ian and Jeff are two, just astounding, really astounding, and deep connections. I'm grateful for Zoom. I'm grateful for Zoom in this year. And those are things that have come to me without me doing anything. And those are the things that that's the difference between gratitude and thankfulness for me. When I know, when I get overcome and then I want to cry, because it has nothing to do with me. And when I'm not, the other thing that I want to say is that when I'm having a really hard time finding my gratitude or finding that thankful place, the best thing for me to do is to reach out to somebody else, and get out of me, get out of myself, get out of my head, and extend a hand, maybe some help, and experience strength and hope to somebody else who might need it a little bit more. So thanks for doing this today.
No worries. I was going to go to Asif.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I think this is a great topic. I resonate a lot with what people have said on this call. I think first and foremost, I'm purely grateful for spirit and God. Everyone has gone through some tough times in COVID, and just like Pamela said, I'm really grateful for COVID. It taught me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about putting things into perspective. You go through these turbulences, the highs and lows of the industry, and it sometimes defines you, and sometimes it doesn't define you. But this past year has put a lot of challenges from a physical and spiritual standpoint, and so I found a lot of gratefulness over the past couple of months in God and spirit. I'm also very thankful for technology, because that's the only way that I can talk to my daughter, who's halfway across the country in Montreal. So thank God for FaceTime. But more importantly, I'm really thankful for God, thankful for my family for being there for me, and obviously all the connections that I've built, and being on this platform and being as vulnerable as we can be, and being as raw and authentic and creating the connections. So purely thankful and grateful for that.
Cool. Thanks, Tassif. Barry?
Find my button here too. I just, you know what? I think everybody's on the same note. It's been a very interesting year, and I think a lot of us, our world would be different without some of the technologies that we've either adapted to or not adapted to, or whatever the case may be. I think the strength of our belief structure, I think, is really important, regardless of who believes what, and what needs to be done or what should or shouldn't be done. I think the strength that we have in that, I think, is really important right now. Being able to come together with a group of people like this, and actually and just share openly and have that conversation. We're all I think Sandy said it the best. It's not it takes 3 years to be an overnight success. You're grinding away every day, and you're wondering what's going on. The reason I was late signing on is somebody stood me up for a Zoom meeting. That doesn't make me feel good. I was up early, ready to do the presentation, but they decided something else came up. So, I got to deal with that now and roll with it, right? And that's just how it happens in all of our lives. You look at all the head shaking, that's just the way it happens, right? So, you put on a big backbone, and you show up, and you retack and go somewhere else with it. So, anyway, so just some of the screens on my screen here. Thanks very much, everybody, for a long 2020 and getting to know some of the people that are on the screen. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Bill Harvey.
Sorry, just had to turn my mic on, and sorry I was late, gang. My apologies. I got caught up like Barry. Only my appointment did show up, and then they wouldn't shut up. So there's both sides to every coin, isn't there? I will echo the sentiments of everybody else, the few that I saw there, Asif and Sandy. Great comments all the way along. I really am thankful for this year, and I am flabbergasted how ignorant people are, especially the ones that refuse to heed the warnings and follow the protocol and wear a mask, and quite frankly, they are boisterous and belligerent about it, and I'm actually kind of thankful for that, because it wonderful teaching opportunity for those of us that are parents, and obviously those of us that are leaders and leading teams, and just impressing upon everybody the necessity to collaborate and cooperate. And without this pandemic, and I'm going to stop calling it in days now, I will stop calling it COVID-19. It's simply a pandemic, and that's all it is. And we don't know how to handle it. And it has been magnificent to have to go through it. Nobody could have structured it, as including all of us on this meeting here, fantastic trainers and speakers and authors and leaders. None of us could have put together a program to simulate this and say, if one day this could have happened. So as unsettling and uncertain as it has been, I am very grateful for it, and have learned a ton from it. And like everybody else, saying that I've grown so much as a result of it. Thank you.
Well, I do have to put in my 2 cents here.
Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned about wearing a mask and everything. I don't know about everybody else here, but this year I'm finding I have a lot less case of chapped lips. because those masks keep everything moist around on your face and your lips and your chin, and it's a benefit. It's a benefit.
Dave
Chat
Jackson?
stock is dropping.
Well, definitely my lipstick costs have gone down because you can't wear lipstick under the mask.
The lipstick costs a decrease.
You have to get the lip stain because the lips.
Oh, well,
There
I
you
figure if no one can see it, it doesn't matter, and we're not allowed to go anywhere. We've been locked down since the end of February, and they told us we're not allowed to even go out on the road until maybe July or August. So
Maybe.
no need for lipstick.
Crazy. So I've got what, Dave Jackson, Sandra, or the car lady. Anyone want to have any thoughts?
You know what? I'll pop in here on you guys because just like you, I have some touch and go meetings, so I may drop off the call. I apologize. You're not seeing my shining face today because I've got lots going on in the background around here. So I apologize for the noise as well. But that's actually one of the things I'm really grateful for. And that is that I have discovered a much more genuine connection with people that, you know, between dogs barking and kids screeching and all of those things going on in the background when I'm speaking to folks, I've just had a real genuine sense of who they are outside of their job. And that's been just something I'm so grateful for, to actually really truly get to know some of these people. The second thing I'm grateful for, it sounds a little counterintuitive, but it's actually at this point my age. And I say that because I went through the SARS pandemic and I had never realized what having that experience would bring to the table so far down the line in my career. And the ability to be able to deal with some of the folks that are, you know, a little less life experienced than I am, to be able to say, you know, we've been through, not maybe to the scale, but we have been through this before. We will go through this again, and it will be okay if we do it together. And to be able to honestly say that, you know, we're doing some of the similar things and they were successful. And to be able to just bring some calm to that space has been something that I'm also very, very grateful for. So I didn't think I'd ever hear myself. I'm grateful to be one of the people with lots of life experience, but I certainly am saying it now. And very much like the rest of you, you know, the technology, the opportunity, the reflection, all of those things I think have been just amazing. But, you know, even this venue, you know, if it weren't for COVID or the pandemic or whatever we're going to call it, you know, in the next 2 weeks, I would not have had the opportunity to make the connections with some of you that I have made. And so that's been amazing as well. And I feel like they are really genuine connections this year in a way that I've never felt before.
I agree. I think we're, I call this right now, we're in the storm before the calm. God, you know, God willing, this, all this new stuff is going to share things. And like you say, by May or June, we'll be back to lives. And let's just hope that we don't lose this connection, because look at all the people that we have here just on this call today. We've got us up here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. We have Sandy down in the sunny Florida, which are freezing their proverbial butts off right now with that 70-degree weather. Oh, I don't know how you do it. And it's going to be, it's really something special.
Fantastic. I also wanted to add that I'm really thankful this year for, you know, the support from my wife and everyone else I know, but also the BC Cancer for getting her through this journey. She's doing her last treatment early January, so hopefully we're out of the woods. And despite all the challenges, they did a bang up job. So it's been a challenging year for her, but we've been able to survive it despite COVID and despite her early diagnosis and operation. So it's been a great year in that way. And also a special thanks to Jeff Polo and also to Brandon and Rick for creating AutoHub, because it's been a great show for this year. We're looking forward to next year, and it's great to have all the input from guests and speakers and really the great content for everyone on the call. Dave, did you want to say anything?
Well, you know, I would have to say that there's a bad connection to Southern Alberta, but as if sitting there looking at us, smiling away, so we know that it's not. But I want to say myself, I'm very thankful for this. And Ian, I'd like to thank you, of course. This is the Mutual Admiration Society for reaching out to me. And I'm enjoying this immensely. And I've met some tremendous people. And we ourselves are very thankful for all of you for joining us. We've created something that we think is quite special. And hopefully you feel the same way. And it's very enjoyable to spend our Mondays and Fridays with you. And with all the neat things, and heck, we've it's great. Oh, by the way, I do have to say we have John way over on the other side of the continent, who's with us here too. So it's really good and very true. You know, if it wasn't for this Zoom platform, can you imagine? You know, that they said many a time back at the last pandemic, what people did when they barely even had telephones to reach out to people, and they had to stay at home and. Literally nobody knew anything until somebody came, you know, running down the street saying, okay, you can go outside now. So, you know, we're very lucky to have this platform. And sorry, and some great people. And I'd actually wouldn't mind just going back to Joanne, because she is the gratitude lady, as she said herself, with her own little sign, and maybe a little more input from your end, please.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm also suffering in Florida, so I apologize for having to, endure the 70-degree weather, but have to do it. But anyway, I feel like what all of you said is so true, and it really is just, I think, just looking at things differently. Like you said earlier, two sides of the coin. And so whatever you're looking at, even if you immediately get a negative thought, just ask yourself, do I really think that, or is that just something I've always conditioned myself to think like that, or has somebody told me that? And it's amazing how many of our beliefs aren't even our own, but it's just because of the fact that we have thought them so long. And I find, was it Sandy that just said about our age? I mean, the more, we experience, the more we realize that, we don't have to keep doing that. Somebody else talked about getting off the road. I know I used to be a happy hamster in a wheel. Was going really fast, but I wasn't getting anywhere. But for 20 years, I lived on the road too, and I'm grateful to now be able to enjoy life more, just from not, being in a hotel every night and somewhere in the world. And anyway, but I also am grateful for that. So that's what I mean about the two sides of the coin. Because if I wouldn't have met all these people. Many people call me the connections queen too, the collaboration queen. I mean, I feel like what all of you said is so true, that we have these new connections, but instead of just having a new connection, figure out what you can do to collaborate with each other. We created a collaborative cloud community, and it's so important because of the fact that we're all good at something, but we're not good at everything. To be able to collaborate with each other and allow the person that's good at that other thing that you're either don't like to do or don't want to do, and let them do that, and compensate them for that, and then you get compensated for what you're good at. And that, I just feel like through this last year we have learned that more than ever, because we have connected on a deeper level, like you all said. So I'm blessed to be on this call, because I feel like everything everybody said is so spot on, and we're all looking for January 20th down here too. So thank you for thinking of us, because it is the challenge.
Fantastic. Scott, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about Mark Academy.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. So we're flipping the script on training. I mean, I think doesn't matter what business or what industry, and training is critical for success of any business or company. And the car biz in particular is challenged in how some of the training is delivered. And I guess it's not even industry specific. So if you can picture a traditional e-learning course, you have a module of sorts that you need to take. And in the OEM world, in the auto biz, many stores are just completing their compliance. It's a exercise of herding cats, some might say, where we're chasing our people to finish their courses that they're required to. But unfortunately, when we click through to the slide to get to the quiz, just to put a stamp of completion on it, the retention factor is missed. So we've developed a bit of a platform that will allow salespeople to train self-directed, on demand, and in a personalized journey, so that we deliver content based on the needs of the individual. I always say, I don't want to teach your people what they already know. Let's help them improve in the areas in which they need to improve. So our platform is able to do that. Every learner has a completely unique and personalized learning journey. And we're just trying to provide the tool as a resource. I mean, if I asked all of you guys, when's the last time you flipped open your phone and you searched for something on Google or YouTube? If it wasn't minutes ago, it was probably at least yesterday. And as adults, we these days we learn in bite-sized pieces. We choose what it is we're interested in. We choose how far down the rabbit hole we want to go and how long we want to, spend researching any particular subject. So our tool is designed to empower salespeople to have that same on-demand, self-directed journey. So they can choose what area of the game they want to focus on based on themselves and their individual needs. And you can get some real-time feedback on how you're doing and where you're increasing your knowledge. And we're like I said, we're trying to flip the script and provide a bit of a unique tool to empower people to build more confidence in doing what they're doing.
And have the salespeople and the OEMs been more grateful this type of model versus old models?
Yeah, I mean, one of those things, like when we're told what to do, right? It's a different perspective is if you're empowered to do it on your own, right? When you're doing it on your own will, in many cases, you're going to probably have a little bit more enjoyment and a little bit more gratitude rather than just being told this is what you need to do. So that's what we found has been pretty unique, is that, you can go down the path without risk or fear of being scrutinized publicly in front of your peers, right? In many workplaces, there are people who are lying, hiding, and faking because they're afraid to put up their hand to say they don't know something because they think they should already know, right? We don't ask for help oftentimes because we're worried that we should already know and that it's going to affect our position or maybe risk our opportunity for a promotion. So being able to train and learn in a safe environment where you're not going to be scrutinized for getting something wrong, I think is very empowering. And that's some of the feedback that we've heard is that, I'm just able to go in and learn at my leisure, whether it's at the same time my kids are doing homework after dinner, or whether it's I got a minute between a customer or I'm in line at the grocery store. You can just open your phone and you can sharpen your axe.
Great. I have some to throw out to everybody here because we've been thankful for connections. We've been thankful for Zoom. We've been thankful to our friends and family. But everybody that's on this call is connected to the car business, or either very tightly, like myself, or loosely. But everywhere in every jurisdiction, we'll call it in the US and Canada, the car business has been designated an essential service. So who here, I got to say everybody is thankful for the fact that we're in an industry that could keep running during all this. We're not in restaurants, which have gone through absolute hell. We're very lucky, and many of us have flourished. Anybody want to bring up that comment? Perhaps, well, we keep asking Dave, but I think Dave's in the middle of doing business and selling stuff. But to Stephen, actually, I have to give you kudos for this because you brought this up when you were on the show before about how we like to slag on each other, but there's a lot of good stuff in the car business.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely grateful for the fact that the auto industry has been kept afloat during this past year. And I think it's done a lot of things too that I've seen just on the technology side. It's made people I think in 2008, I saw a similar thing where it made everybody kind of really focus on what matters and what's important and what works in the dealer space. And I think, unfortunately, over the past probably 8 or 9 years, we've kind of forgotten some of that. And I hate that it takes a world pandemic for the auto space to make change, but it's been interesting to see that and how people are inside our space trying to figure out how to do things better, be more focused on the consumer, trying to take the steps that are hard to make those changes. I think like Scott was saying, making the auto space more like how people buy other products and goods and services in their lives, and using technology to do that. And it's, I think on the last show I talked about, I went to the Smithsonian a couple of summers ago, and they have a mock-up of a car dealership from the 50s, and it's exactly the same as the one that I used to work in last year. And so I think it's been hard for dealers to take that leap, and this has forced them to, which is good for them. I think a lot of times we all talk about, well, what's right for the customer? But at the end of the day, if it's right for the customer, it's better for the dealer because it makes them more efficient, sell faster, be better at engaging the customer. And so I think that's been, I think, a blessing out of this for all of us in the space, who, whether you're a technology partner or you're at the dealership level.
Fabulous. Thank you. I knew you'd say great stuff. And Dave Jackson, hi, how about tell us what you got to be thankful about this year, and of course in the car business.
I got to be thankful for the way the year's turned out. It's actually gone very well. I think there's 3 areas we're probably thankful. I mean, number one is with staff and their dedication. I mean, one thing somebody told me years ago, you have 2 types of people working with you. You have the have-tos and the want-tos. The have to be there. The want-tos want to be there. And I think through all of this, we found we had a lot more want-tos than we thought we did. Just with their dedication and showing up every day. And we had some crazy days. We've had some crazy days here with this whole pandemic and COVID and number of cases and stuff. So I'm very grateful to our staff for that. I'm grateful for what's happened in the business with our suppliers and different products and stuff. We kind of found out who our friends were there. Just with some of the ways some of the different suppliers stepped out and went the extra mile to help us, and whether it be through pricing or innovation or new products they brought out, or just the way they work with us to get those products to market. I'm very grateful for that. And then thirdly, I'm just grateful for all the new products that people have come out with, and the new ideas and the new ways people to do business. I mean, there's so much overlap in this business with different suppliers and stuff, and you really don't know, like, everybody's got a mousetrap, and it's which one works, which one doesn't. I get calls, 3-4 calls a day, people I've never heard from before, and they've got this, they've got that, and it's just good to have forums like this where you can kind of sort out some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, and it's amazing how many different suppliers we had that we really didn't even know we had, or we didn't know we were using, or when things are busy and things are good, you don't drill down that rabbit hole real far. You just let it roll, and all of a sudden, once your expenses start adding up and your income's going down, you start really, really, really looking at that stuff a lot harder. And we say, the dealership's the same in the 50s as it is now. Yeah, it is. But you know what? An old house looks the same from the outside too, right? I think they've changed a lot. And I think we got to be grateful for the way things are going and the changes, innovations that we're learning. And the problem too is a lot of, the car business is the worst. Well, we've always done it that way. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I remember we were on rentals and rentals, for 20 years. And a new employee would start, and the old employee would show them how to use rentals and rentals. I don't know. Is there an instruction manual for rentals and rentals, or do you just do what the last guy taught you? I mean, and it just seems the whole world, everything we do, it's, well, that's what the last guy did, so that must be the way we do it. you know.
I used to have nightmares about that, the blue screen with the yellow letters on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're in service, everything started with a 4. If you're in sales, everything started with a 3, and that's all you had to know. That's where it ended. That's where so, I'm grateful for the changes that have come about in the industry. I really am. There's lots of things going on that are exciting and kind of neat. But well, see what next year brings. But I'm actually grateful for the way this year's turned out. I really am. It's actually been a very, very good year. So.
That's great. Thanks for your input. Thanks for joining us, by the way. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And
you got to go an hour later, though. Yeah, I got to go an hour later.
Well, you know what? We have to accommodate everybody and all over the place. And we wish we could be as technologically advanced as our friends in the TV networks. For some reason, could have 9 a.m. everywhere.
I know, Jeff, but it's all about me.
I know, it always has been. The thing is, one thing I have to say, Dave, is everybody, a lot of people here have mentioned that they spent so much time on the road. And knowing you personally, I bumped into you in places that I never, ever dreamed I'd be bumping into somebody in Toronto, sitting at an auction somewhere, going down the street in Calgary or something like that. So it's been a big adjustment for you, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's huge. Huge.
Not building up those air miles.
No air miles this year. No. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
One thing Dave,
air miles anywhere.
The one thing Dave did bring up that I think probably everybody is in the same boat as well is every single panel on this screen has taken a second look at how they're doing, what they're doing, costing, what the relationship with that supplier is, everything, digging deep. And I think that's, you kind of buzzed over, but I'm sure you probably spent 3 months with some really smart people locked in a room, drilling deep and how do we do this and do we really need this and how does that go? It was probably a pretty big job when you actually look back at it. It wasn't just a half hour on a Tuesday morning, but I think everybody's probably done that. And if they haven't, you should do that now. Get on that. But anyway, I just wanted to just reflect on that because I think that was
that was one of the things we did. When back in March when everything was shutting down, it was like, okay, what does it cost? What does it really cost to open our doors every month if we have nothing coming in? What's our true cost? And then our next question was, what should it cost?
Right.
And it was surprising the difference between the two. It really was. And then of course, some of the suppliers came together and waived charges. We had a couple of companies that suspended. They said they'd put us in suspension for a month, and they didn't charge us, but they kept doing their end, which was really good. I mean, so the loyalty to them is going to be, anybody calling me trying to sell the same product as them is going to have a very, 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 very hard mountain to climb there to overcome that, because you kind of remember that. So you're right.
Have you seen, just out of curiosity's sake, and if you don't want to share that, I get it, but have you seen the number change of how much it costs to get a new customer into your database?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gone down or up?
I think it's come down. I just look, I look more, cost per click and and that, and I think my cost per click has come down. As a percentage, I'd say probably 30%, which is a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. I mean, simply because of how things are being done. But all of us here are forced to use the digital a whole lot better now too. I mean, we still see no response on emails, or we see the response, "Hi, my name's Bob, ask for me." I still see those. So yeah, that aspect of the cost has really come down, really, really come down.
Good for you. Because it's easy just to keep throwing stuff at it, and it's another penny, it's another buck, it's another whatever.
Everybody tells you the same thing. Well, if it sells you one more car, yeah, but eventually, you've sold that one more car, but you also need to make some money.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's funny about
the only time I've ever been thrown out of a dealership is I had a boss tell me to tell that to a car dealer. And the guy threw me out. He's like, you know how many cars I have to sell just one of to pay for everything in this stupid place? And my boss was laughing the whole time because he's like, they set you up. Yeah.
No, Dave touched on two really important things that I'd like to mention. The first one being that, you guys had some vendors and some suppliers that helped you out and, did suspensions for a month and your loyalty to them. But there's a flip side to that too. And being one of those vendors, I am so grateful for the loyalty that we've seen from dealerships. That were there things that we did pro bono or whatever the case may be because of COVID? Yeah, there were. But the loyalty and the gratitude and the genuine relationships we've built with the dealerships that stemmed from that are irreplaceable. Our relationships with dealerships aren't just, vendor relationships anymore. We've become much more solid partners because of it. So Dave, first of all, thank you for bringing up the loyalty component because it does go two ways. We feel much more loyal to them now too. And the other thing you touched on was the wannabe, the wannabe here's. And there is two sides to that coin too. One of the biggest pieces of feedback I've got from so many dealer principals was, I want to keep my people. How do I help my people? I've got great people. How do I see them through this? Can I do this? Can I do that? Those kinds of things. And so I think when you have a strong level of leadership in the dealership, those wanna-be here's go up. So I think, in addition to being grateful for those people, I think you also deserve a bit of a round of applause yourself for having those people, because it's that culture and that mutual loyalty that's built the wanna-be here's, not need to be here's. So I've been very grateful to see that. We talk a lot about, old school dealerships, but that culture of valuing your employees is not an old school thought process. And so many dealerships have it and aren't given credit for it. So I'm very grateful to be able to say there is stuff going on in the dealership world that is not, as old school as we think it is. I love the analogy about the house, by the way. 50s house, looks the same from the outside, but what you see inside isn't the same. So I'm grateful to be a part of being able to see the great things and that are going on, and some of the creative ways you guys have looked at keeping your people. I'm very fortunate that I was able to retain my team through COVID because you guys made me twice as busy as I've ever been because of COVID. So I think there's some recognition that needs to go to the dealerships and to the dealer principals for the things you're grateful for are things you've also built. And I think you guys deserve a bit of some applause for that.
It's very true. We are, again, it's we've learned the value of people because a lot of people have come through adversity, and it's not, it's like Dave said, it's the people that have to be there that want to be there, and we found a lot of people. And certainly in Canada, the government created a program where lower wage earners didn't go to work, and many of them didn't go back to work because frankly they're what they got a $2,000 a month stipend from the government. And if someone was in a $3,000 a month job, and by the time they finished with taxes and all that other stuff, they were $2,300 in their pocket, and they went, I'm going to take my $2,000 and I'm going to go skip the dishes for tips under my friend's login or something. So the people that were at work, especially people like lot attendants and parts drivers, etc., they were there because they wanted to be. And we definitely have to be thankful for them, because otherwise people like Asif and is it Asif or Asif? Asif, my apologies. Asif and Dave, you guys would be driving the parts vans.
Yeah, you're right. I think the cutoff point for employees, I think, was about $17 an hour. If they were about $17 or less, they made more money. But well, I shouldn't say they made more money. That's the terminology that I had one or two of them use. They made more money being at home. Yeah. So and $17 an hour is not a lot of money, but it is, you know, when I look at, you know, other dealerships in my 20 group, you know, I mean, they're down in the East Coast and stuff, and they're paying detailers, you know, $13-14 an hour. Well, you know, I mean, it is a big difference. It is a big difference. So it's interesting from that perspective, you know, the who didn't want to come to work, or who, you know, I mean, I had 2 detailers that had COVID symptoms, you know, like within 2 days of everything coming out, right? I've never seen them again. So.
And you know, I do have to say that depending on where you are in some of the smaller centers, and I don't mean to pick on John, but in the maritime provinces here in Canada, and there's a lot of places in the States, probably in Texas, it's pretty cheap to live. And you know, here, if somebody gets $2,000 a month and they live in rural Newfoundland, and that's pretty good money to live on. And you know, out here, it doesn't even cover a latte or two a week. But that is a challenge. And again, we have people that are working because they want to work, and they're not going to work at the Amazon Center either.
Yeah, Jeff, you're in Vancouver. What's a latte?
It's the double with foam.
Dave, it's that thing that if you would stop buying, you could afford a car.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, Starbucks here, I'm not sure where you are, I think it is. Starbucks is actually closing a lot of stores here, and the ones that are staying open are just, they got lineups, and they're making money hand over fist by all these people on these benefits with their $5 and $6 coffees as they go sit in the park while they're collecting whatever it is, except for us car people, because we work our tails off.
Well,
Yeah.
Jeff, we're running out of time, so I just wanted to see, does anyone have any final comments?
Just a thanks to everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and you guys keep doing what you're doing. These things are fun to watch. I don't always get on, but I always watch them after the fact, and there's a lot of good information, and it's just, hopefully it can grow a lot bigger next year, and we can get a lot more people engaged. It's a lot of fun.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it has been like since the very beginning. I was here at the very beginning, and just following it through, I've learned so much. And every week it's, oh, I learned that today. So thanks everybody for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you. I do want to touch in before anybody else says anything or goes out. We have our Friday vendor speak show. We're actually changing our format coming in 2021. We're not sure the rollout date yet. We're still getting guests, but we're, instead of a one vendor presenting their wares for an hour, and sometimes running into a case where somebody is mentioning something or that sort of thing and feeling obliged to talk, we're going to go to a 2 or 3 person show, and the topic of the show will be, as an example, training, or an example, staffing, digital marketing, social media marketing. And so we'll be reaching out to people and asking them to be part of a 3-person panel, and with about 10 minutes to present their wares, and make it a little bit cheaper to do that. Of course, any vendors that are on this call today, just a special New Year's, Christmas, holiday gift, will not be paying fees for the first 3 months of the year if you join us with the show. And it'll be a chance to reach out to people and just do it a little differently and grow on this. And we're certainly going to be growing and evolving this show here. And maybe we might even have a special Alberta show that starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, just for Dave.
Perfect. And I'll be the only one on it.
We'll call it the Dave Show.
Yeah, I do
Barry and I will join you.
Yeah.
No, I'll be on that one. I'm in Edmonton.
There you go.
There you go.
Hey,
Yeah,
You're slowly getting outnumbered here, Jeff.
There's a lot of us out there.
Hey, you know what? Our web footers out here, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our job is to serve you people, and notice I said people, not guys. And it's we will adapt. If more people will log in at Central Time, we'll be there, because something, we're used to adapting to everybody further east from here.
You can't say guys, Jeff. That's Smithsonian thing.
That's Smithsonian, exactly. The question is, in 50 years, will the Smithsonian look at the dealership? Now, we're all going to get people mad at here, and see the dealership as a vending machine of 12 stories with cars in it.
Maybe.
No.
Carvana has.
No.
I don't. So.
No. I mean, I look at Amazon as consumers distributing of this era.
Ooh, you're showing your age.
No, he's right
No,
though. He's absolutely right.
We were talking about consumers distributing the other day, how the concept seemed just so amazing, and look where it ended up.
Yeah, they're doing well now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Hey, them
Yeah, they're holding their own, Dave.
You guys have like a Canadian to American, like a scroll at the
Equivalent?
bottom that could help.
Like a translator?
That's funny.
Double is Tim Hortons coffee, sort of like the Dunkin' Donuts of the Great White North.
Dunkin' Donuts with 2 cream, basically.
Oh
But
my
if,
God.
but if you go back to that, Dave, like if,
Translator on the bottom.
I'm going to date myself with you as well as, and I remember consumer, but they did not have good service.
No.
They had this unique platform and they had whatever, but it was terrible service. And they could have improved on that and probably grown it.
But Barry, we all had terrible service back then.
Well, that's okay.
How many times did we have in a dealership where somebody came in with a complaint and we said, get out?
You mean we're not throwing keys on the roof anymore?
How many people did we give them a free oil change before they could complain, just to fill out the survey? You know, I mean.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was a good time. Now the comparison, though, the majority shareholder or the primary shareholder of consumer distributing was not worth $200 billion.
Nobody is. It's just a number.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Yesterday, speaking of Amazon, there was a news story about how Mackenzie Bezos just gave $2 billion to whatever to help people out.
Yeah,
and
that's like
the joke was that Jeff Bezos in turn cut back on benefits for his staff.
I mean, $2 billion for her is like us throwing 20 cents in a Salvation Army account. You know?
Gosh, man, that's it's beyond. You can't even imagine that level of money, and to give it away. But the trouble is like she did last time, her stock value that same day went up by 3 times of what she gave away.
Yeah, she gave away $2 billion and saved $4 billion in tax. Yeah, that's
exactly. Anybody else?
Yeah.
No, thanks, Jeff and Ian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, we got another.
I do. Yeah, this has really been awesome. I want to thank both of you and everyone else for, all the comments. And while I was sitting and listening to everybody, it occurred to me there's one more thing that I'm really grateful for about our industry that this year has brought. And that seems to be the opportunity to really, really, really move the needle possibly on inclusion, on women in automotive, on people of color in automotive. I had the opportunity this year to take a really intense certification class as a DEI practitioner. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity to do that in COVID, but without COVID, or what are we calling it now? This pandemic. I really like that. I want to stop calling it COVID.
Americans call it Chinese flu, as Americans call it.
You'll never hear me call it. That will never cross my mouth. And I just think there's a lot of things happening. Like there's a couple. Wokan, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Carrie Wise, but she is, a VP at TrueCar. But she and 3 other women have started Women of Color in Automotive Network. And so check it out, WOCAN. If you look at it, and it's a place for women of color to come together. And because it's been the same, and just our turnover never moves, right? Ever. The needle has not moved for as long as I've been in this business, whether it's salespeople, male, female, whatever that is. And I really think it's about inclusion. So we have this opportunity And I'm excited and grateful for that. So I wanted to.
Sandy, I do have to say that you represent the two complete opposites of our show successes. Our best attended shows have been the women in automotive, and our worst attended shows have been the HR shows.
Nobody wants to know. I tell you what, though, everybody did want to talk to me when this pandemic hit, because how do you do FFCRA? How do I do this? We were talking about how do you, the conversation that you all were having. Well, people are making more money on the help that they're receiving through unemployment. Well, how do I get my people back? How do I get my detailers back? When it's time. So for a while there, everybody did want to talk to me, which was interesting.
But now, and the funny thing is, because everybody reached out to you at the beginning saying, how do I lay people off without them coming after me? And then later they reached out to you and said, how do I not bring back some of the people I laid off?
How do I get rid of them?
How do I get rid of them?
She's saying, don't interrupt, but Sandy touched on one thing, and I just want to say that myself having daughters, I've never thought of it as women or people of color or anything like that. I mean, we're Canadians, and maybe we're a little different, but they've always just been people in automotive.
Yeah.
Well, it's a glaring symptom.
I understand. I'm just saying, it's, each one of us takes our own steps, right? But I've always felt it was people in automotive, and I don't know.
I think that
it really isn't. It isn't though. It isn't, because
I know
you know, because you have daughters, but even if
I didn't have daughters, I'd like to think I'd still know.
It's just that when you're actually in that atmosphere, you can feel it, and as guys, you guys don't feel it. And when you walk in, it's like, oh, here comes just another chick. Really? But really, we bring things to the table that guys don't, and guys bring things to the table that women don't. And it's really interesting if we could just, even the women, because we get it in our head that guys just are dumb. Sorry, but we get that in our head.
Girls worry about so much what guys are thinking, and we all know guys don't think.
You know what? That's so funny, because if we would all just put that aside, then we could just get on with business. It's so frustrating. I was in a car dealership, and I was going to buy a Mini, and I went to the dealership, and my husband was with me, and the guy kept talking to my husband. And I said to the guy, I'm the one with the money. And my husband said to him, she's the one with the money. She's the one making this decision. And he just kept talking to Steve. And finally, Steve says to the guy, we're out of here. You're dumb. And off we went, and I bought a Chevy. So it's just kind of crazy. And I was trying to get that out of my head that, oh, this guy just sees me as some dumb woman. And I was trying to be open-minded, but he just kept showing it. So it's really frustrating.
Hopefully this year, next year, the year, whenever, hopefully we all get through and past all that. And
yeah.
we had a couple of gals, technicians, all my service advisors are technicians. I've got girls in sales. They're just people.
Ladies.
That's awesome. I'm going to jump in real fast.
We've opened a new forum here, Jeff. Sorry.
Everybody, honestly, like one thing when we're talking about things like this, and maybe when you are talking about things like this with your peers, there's a few things to try and remember. That one, always assume that everybody has positive intent with their comments, even if it's a comment that you don't agree with. And one thing that I want to say is that number one, our turnover rates and the percentage of women, coupled with the data from NAMED, at least in US, right, 18,000 dealerships in the United States, 1,200 of them are owned by people of color. 146, I think, of those are owned by Black or African American. So it is to me, data doesn't lie, right? It doesn't lie. And educating You know, I'm super interested in Scott's learning and development system. You know, education is very important, and understanding. And one thing is we would love it to be everybody's people, right? We're all people. One thing that might do is, like, I am, you know, I'm a white woman, but I'm also a single mom. I am a person in recovery. I am a sister. I am a friend. I am an aunt. So we all have so many different aspects to ourselves, that oftentimes, and particularly women in automotive, we are and people of color, unable to bring our full selves to work. And that's what inclusion is about.
That's right.
And when the data shows, man, when we can get this done, the automotive industry is the most wonderful industry in the world, in my opinion, right? It's why I'm still here. Been here 23 years, and I'm still here. If we can get this right, if we can really do this, when there is real inclusion, which creates diversity, there's a lot of chitter and, you know, chit chat about let's hire for diversity, right? We want to hire. Evidenced by the 98% turnover of women in sales, we are bringing diversity into a workplace that does not accept, celebrate, and allow people to be themselves at work, or they wouldn't go. So you can hire for all the diversity you want, but if you don't have a place where people want to be here, that sentence that Sandra would taught, that, you know, that she was talking about, where people want to stay and they want, and this, to me, I'm so down that this is so important for our survival.
Absolutely.
When you add
absolutely
generations in. Anyway, I could go on and do.
I know. I just look forward to.
This is my jam. I don't know if you can tell, but this is like my jam.
I look forward to the day when we don't need those stats.
I look forward to it too, but the fact is that day is it's off.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think Sandy.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you talk about inclusion, you know, you can talk about diversity and pluralism, but you got to believe in diversity and pluralism. I mean, you can hire all the ethnic, you can hire women, you can hire, you know, different type of individuals that come into the store. But if you truly don't believe in diversity and pluralism and understanding that everyone has the same color of blood, which is red, then it doesn't really matter what you do, because you can't build it, and you can't speak it, and you can't believe in it. And I can only look back at my father, who started in this industry back in the 1970s, and he's gone through a lot. And I'm sure, Dave, you know my father.
Oh, he's the most respected guy I know.
You know, he's gone through a lot in this industry, and we talk about inclusion and diversity and being accepted for who you are. And he went through a lot from a standpoint of racism and being in a, sorry to say this, but in a white man's industry.
But your dad was awesome to everybody.
Yeah, and so, you know, he's done, and so now you try to build a culture in a dealership in which, you know, you don't take a look at race or ethnicity or status or whatever it may be, and you just accept someone for who they are because they have the same color of blood, and that's red. And if you can get that, and you can divert, and if you can create a culture in which everyone's accepted for who they are, then it's such a perpetual positive flow that you can do.
I feel like if we can add a purpose.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, so I think a big part of that too is if we can find a just cause or a purpose that's greater than ourselves for our people, and we can all feel that we're contributing to something that's beyond ourselves, I think coupling that with the inclusion, I think you've got a real powerful platform to do something special. Because this business, unlike any other industry, doesn't matter where you've come from, what experience you have, if you have a shiny degree on your wall, you know, you've got a shot to do something great. You get your foot in the door in this industry, and you can climb to lengths that aren't necessarily achievable in a lot of other spaces, which I think is incredible about this thing we call the car biz. So if we, you know, so that's a really good thing that we have going for us, is that it doesn't matter where you've come from and what experience you have and what school you went to, you can get your foot in the door and you can do great things if we can, you know, combine that inclusion with a purpose that's greater than ourselves, so that when we go home, we feel that we've accomplished something that we can feel good about. I think there's some power there.
Yeah.
So can I ask Asif, how do you get everyone to buy in?
I think it just starts on having natural and honest conversations. You know, there's
Open,
we've had a lot of,
radical candor.
pardon me?
Radical candor.
Radical candor. And we've had some individuals that come in, you know, had the staff and which there's instant judgment, whether it be race, whether it be a female that comes in, and you know, the experience that you went through where a female comes in with their partner or their husband, and the woman is buying the vehicle, and you have a sales associate specifically speak to the man about the transaction. And we've had to have conversations saying that you need to have the courage to have that conversation without having to fear of being dealt with objections that a female may give you where the man doesn't give it to you. A conversation with a male buyer is very different from a conversation from a female buyer. And so we've had to create a culture in which anyone that comes in, you accept them as you're inviting them into your own home. Whether we have a dealership, it's just a dealership, it's just four walls. But anyone that comes into our dealership is like you're inviting them into your home. So you be generous, you be kind, you listen, and irrespective of what they say, whether they spit in your face, they yell, they scream, they just completely bypass the process in which you have created parameters for, it really doesn't matter. Just understand that they're in your home and you got to do whatever it takes in order for them to be comfortable in your home. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And if you lose, have the courage and the gratefulness and the acceptance, and that's okay. Sometimes you can't please everyone. But more often than not, if you have it in your heart that you want to treat everyone as you want to be treated, then you do well. And most of them have accepted it, and some people haven't. And those who have left our dealership, who believe they think they're above everyone else, whether it be degrees, whether it be position, whether it be experience, whether it be power or struggle or ego or pride, that's fine. They have left. And that is their journey in which they will have to go through and the learnings that they'll go through. But the core that we have over here, they understand. And again, I'm blessed because my father has created a strong foundation in which, listen, I don't give a shit who you are. Anyone who comes into the dealership, you treat them like a human, you treat them with kindness, you treat them with dignity, you treat them with love. And if you can flow with that boat, great. If you can't, that's okay. You go through your journey. And that's it.
It's extremely important to come from the top down. And like you said, with your dad, you know, I grew up in Southern Alberta, and my gosh, there couldn't have been at that time a more whiter place possible. And coming to Vancouver, Vancouver is extremely diverse as far as racial. In the auto industry, I'm not kidding you, 75% of the people in dealerships in the greater Vancouver area, now we're talking, you know, 100 miles east-west and 40 miles north-south, are non-European. In fact, most of the owners here are non-European. I won't use the term white because that's a big thing. However, we do have a long way to go as far as ladies in there.
Yeah,
we have
you know,
a
Jeff,
long way to go.
you know, every dealer and every supplier talks about the culture of their dealership. You know, the dealers talk about the culture of the dealership. The suppliers come in and want to integrate into the culture of your dealership. And I just think that the foundation of your culture should be start with that, with that. That's where it has to start. And it has to be everybody in the store. As Asif said, everybody has to be. If you're not on the program, then go away. Like, just go away, you know?
Yeah, it has to start from the top. Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, I love, you know, the word culture is an interesting concept to me. I had a professor a long time ago that said the most common sense thing I've ever heard about culture, and it's still been my definition of what is it like to work around here. So in my experience, a lot of dealers say this is, and management too, and I think it's very natural to do, this is our culture. But the people who we should really ask what it's like to work around here are the employees.
Yeah,
All
most dealers don't know their culture. They think they do.
Yes.
exactly. The only way you find that out is through employee surveys, which are really easy to do. One thing I want to say also is, you know, in these kinds of conversations, and I loved Asif, I loved everything that you were talking about you know, the inclusion that is evident in your store. We have to avoid, or I've heard, I was told this by a really, really smart person, somebody way smarter than me, try to avoid applying a simple solution to a very complex problem.
Oh, no, of
You
course
know,
not.
so it's a one very there's a lot of different things, but one challenge that I issue to dealers that I know is it's pretty simple. Get the demographics, which is easy to find for the area in which you operate. Then look at the demographics in your store. See if they match up, and also see how they go. You know, it doesn't count if all your women are in accounting and all your people of color are in detail and car wash or loop tax. Like, to me, that doesn't count. Like, what we should work toward is having that spread throughout our dealership and in leadership as well. And somebody said it does start with leadership. Jeff, I think it might have been you. Dealers have to know or should try. And that's kind of like what is your why? Why are you going to do this? Then you start with how you're going to communicate that. You know what? One of the most interesting things I learned in this certification that I took, that a good inclusion, equity, and diversity program really takes about 3 years to see any fruit, so it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of commitment.
But I think, Sandy, it goes a lot deeper than that too, just to be honest with you, because there's our culture in North America is set up that, Sunday's the one day off, for sure. That's been the traditional days. There's a huge percentage of our population that does not celebrate their religion on a Sunday. They celebrate it on another day. So do we actually give them the opportunity to duck out that day, not be there that day, work a different day, because that's really important to them. And if they're going to be part of our team, we need to respect them, because they respect our Sundays, our Christmases, all the stuff that goes on. And I'm not saying that everything has to be rewritten, but do you actually respect them enough to know that this is really important to them? They need to duck out. They need to do this, whatever the case. And I don't want to pigeonhole anything here. I just want to use an example. But that's really truly understanding somebody's lifestyle and being aware that that is something different than what we are traditionally used to. If you've got somebody on your team that is taking a non-traditional role in family raising, are we working around that? Are we comfortable with that? Or are we taking that paternity leave person and picking on them a little bit for not being the man of the house or whatever? And it's just, it goes in all these different directions. And it's really just saying, do we actually know and care about our team? And that starts at the top. And where it goes from there is wherever we want to take it as an individual, but that's where it starts.
Yeah. Well, the very interesting thing is the keyword team. And one thing I was going to say earlier was, again, in the early 80s, start selling cars in again, Alberta, again, one of the whitest places on earth, forgive me, was, I was told right away though, by the dealer I worked for, he said, you always talk to the lady there. And it's because they control everything. And even though the employee level of it isn't there and how salespeople will speak to the man or whatever, thanks, Scott, appreciate you being here.
Thank you guys. Have a lovely day. Appreciate being here as well. Thank you so much.
We'll be in touch.
Cheers.
I gotta duck out too, guys. Thanks everybody. Season's greetings.
I think everybody's ducking on you, Jeff.
We'll be in touch.
No, I was just about to say, we will call it there. I thank everybody for attending. It's been a terrific show. I wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a terrific New Year. We hold our fingers together that everything works out And personally, I wanted to thank everybody. This has been a great thing for me. I've enjoyed it immensely. I've transitioned from the retail end of the business to this, and it's helped make it truly enjoyable. And especially to John Latka and Barry Jordan, you guys are there every day, every time we're on the show. So I really do appreciate it.